Thank you for staying with us. Time now for us to get into the news review. And we're joined by Kojo Poku, an energy analyst. He'll be sharing his thoughts with us shortly. There you are. I see you, Kojo. A very good morning to you.
How are you?
I am very well. How about you?
Oh, interesting. Today, the response is better. Thank you.
Well, we can't come and key ourselves. We have to make the most of the situation. So it is what it is. But you're looking very.
That's the Ghanaian spirit.
Yes, it is. You're looking very smart, very dapper with your tie and everything this morning. What's the occasion?
You, Ben, when I get the call that Ben wants me on the show, I need to go into my stuff and make sure I do the best for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for doing us the honors. So as always, I would like to pick your thoughts on a few issues before we dig into the papers. You've heard of the TUC and what they've been saying about the fact that they don't subscribe to the debt exchange. Some outfits have come out to say that this debt exchange thing, Charlie, it's fraught with so many problems. The budget has passed at least the initial hurdle. The minority in parliament is saying, look, as for the taxes and all of that, the e-levy, the VAT and all of that, they don't subscribe to it. What is your quick take on that matter?
Well, look, you cannot say you don't subscribe to something, but then pass it into law.
They're saying that, to be fair, they are saying that there are basics and there will be consequences if we don't approve the budget. You're fully aware of that.
That's fine.
So we are approving this, but when it comes to some components of it, we don't agree.
Well,
does that not make sense?
You cannot agree, but in principle, you have voted for it. So let's move on. The most important thing is that there's no point doing two sides of the coin. You don't try to be seen by the public that you are fighting with us, when in the chamber, you are actually approving the very thing that you say you don't agree. Okay? Yes, look, we've always said that the national good should come first, which is what they've done. Within the shortest possible time, before 31st December, we need to have a budget in place. Now, they've approved it. Let's move on. To come out and say that, no, I don't agree, but I've approved it. That's fine. You've done your work. Let's move on. With the haircuts and what's going on with the debt exchange, if you read the document from the Attorney General, it's very telling. So it tells you the thoughts that were going through the head of the Ministry of Finance and how they wanted to do this. And the Attorney General, being an independent counsel to government, really gave them a very good opinion, which is the opinion held by many that, look, when a bond is bought or an agreement is made, you cannot unilaterally alter or change the agreement. This goes to the heart of some of the things that Ministry of Finance has been trying to do for years. You remember when the minister came to the floor of the House and said that all take and pay agreement was going to be changed to take or pay. Take or pay. It's going to be changed to take and pay. Okay? Now, some of us came out and said that, I'm sorry, but you cannot do that, okay? You cannot unilaterally come to the floor of Parliament and say that all take or pay agreements will be changed to take and pay. And for 4 years or 5 years down the line, they still not been able to do that. In the last budget, we were told that some agreements have been reached, but we are still yet to see the details of those agreements. Because when agreement is penned on, you need the other party to agree. And in this debt exchange, what I'm hearing is that you need 75% of all bondholders to agree. A minimum of 75% of all bondholders to agree.
Okay? Is that per entity or generally across the bonds landscape?
Okay, so in this case, if you realize the release said that individual bondholders and T-bill holders were excluded. So that would go to say that if you're an individual entity and you hold a bond, you'll be excluded. But what they tend to do is that they are now, all bondholders are bondholders, whether you exclude them or you don't exclude them. So you need 75%. If there is a particular bond that you want to now negotiate, you need a minimum of 75% of all those bondholders to agree. Now, I don't see how you're going to get that. What the government is targeting is to wipe out our pension funds, the tier 2, tier 3, okay? And I'm sure Senate also is in there heavily, which is the tier one pension, which we all have. Then the banks, the institutional investors, which is the banks, instead of lending the money to me and you, were lazy in lending money to business for business to grow. They were just happy buying government bonds. Okay? If it was you and I that they gave the money to, this thing would never happen. They would have grown the economy, business would have done well, and we would have had a growth in the business and industrial sector. Instead, they took the lazy approach and lent it to government by buying bonds because it was easy. Government was offering these juicy interest. Now that's the consequences. So it's unfortunate that we've come to this. If you look at what's happening in the banking sector, we are back to pre-2017 situation. I'm being told that 16 banks have asked for liquidity support. Okay, so it means that if you look at the forex itself, the forex situation, we have actually wiped out 50% of their liquidity. Okay, so the value of their money, 50% is being wiped out just by the exchange rates. So then you now go into the interest that they could have made on their principal to shore up their capital, that is also being wiped out extensively. So we are in a very bad state, unfortunately.
Tell me, though, I mean, I'll get to the comments of John Kuma shortly. I want to tie it into something. But road tolls are also back. They're going to be back. And we're going to pay more, according to Kwesi Amoakwata, the sector minister. Some people have looked at it and said, we told you so. We told you it wasn't right to scrap this. You were raking it about 270,000 cedis per day. You took it off, and now you're going to force it down our throats again. It's also about the state of some of these toll booths. If you've gone round, you've seen them. Some of them are decrepit, so to speak. Some of them are in a sorry state. So if you remember on the Tema stretch, the one that was hit by a long vehicle and all of that, a lot of work must go into it. And now it's going to be electronic and all of that, which would also mean that some of our PWDs who had work would not be there. But this pirouette, this going back to what we had before, what does it say to you? Does it give a sense of direction, of clear purpose?
No, there's no direction. There's no leadership. I've always said that. Look, the conversation and the argument I had before that budget was read was that we're not going to scrap the toll, but we are going to introduce electronically. That's what I thought was going to happen, because the conversation then was not to scrap the toll, but to introduce electronic tax. Look, technology has advanced so much around the world that it doesn't cost you anything to introduce it in your country. Okay? If you go to Dubai, you go to the US, you go to a lot of countries, there is electronic tax where you, in Dubai especially, you think there are no tolls, right? You drive, and at every point in time, you have a sticker on your car that the infrared or whatever scans it, and then the toll is paid from the sticker that you have.
Right.
In the US, there are tolls, but then they have easy lanes where if you want to buy a yearly pass, they are called e-passes, okay? When you buy the e-pass, you stick it on your windshield, then you go through the easy pass lane. Then when you go through, the infrared basically scans it, and the toll is paid electronically. If you want to go in a queue, then you can manually pay on those tolls. But the technology is abound. I didn't see the point in saying that we're no longer going to fix tolls. The most important thing, Ben, is that we have lost the concept of toll. Me and you talked about this the other time when we discussed Tema Motorway. The concept of toll was to collect that money to fix that particular road. The toll was not to be collected and put in a magnanimous account, which is the endless pit called the consolidated fund.
Right.
Because if you are talking about toll money, it's nothing as compared to national budget, but it's a lot of money compared to that particular road, its maintenance. So if you look at the state of the Tema Motorway today, if you are collecting, let's say, 1 cedi or even 2 cedis from every car that goes on that road to fix the Tema Motorway, it wouldn't be in a state it's in. Okay? And that should apply to all tolls. In the 2022 budget, we had this new innovation of having to come up with certain PPP arrangement where certain road will be built purposely tolled to a certain amount. That concept is going on in India. Okay? Whether people are confident enough to bring their money into Ghana to spend billions on some of these things, that is something that we should explore. In 2007, I know a consortium that did an extensive work on the Kumasi-Accra highway. They were going to build a dual carriage Accra-Kumasi, did all the work, did everything that they need to do, and they were going to toll to recover their money. That's 2007. If we had built that road at that time, and the cost was about $850 million at the time.
Right.
Today, we would have had a dual carriage road, Accra to Kumasi, that probably would have paid itself off by now.
Right.
But we abandoned it halfway because there was a change of government in 2009. Okay? So, look, it's unfortunate.
It's so many things we have to digest. But definitely, I want us to look at some matters related to the bonds. I'll get back to that later, some of what Dr. John Kuma has been sharing with us. But let's start with the Daily Graphic newspaper now and get into it. When we're done, I'll bring in those outstanding matters. And the Daily Graphic this morning says, Graphic Access SME Fair today. There's also NAT GMA reject debt structuring, like I put to you. Pictured there, Thomas Musa, General Secretary of NAT, together with Dr. Frank Ankobia, GMA President. Both of them are rejecting debt restructuring. I'll tell you a bit about why. Don't cap Supreme Court judges, Chief Justice and Sophia Kufu proposed. Now, the Chief Justice, Kwesi Enin-Yeboah, and his predecessor, Sophia Kufu, have kicked against calls to cap the number of judges at the Supreme Court. In their view, the scope of the Supreme Court under the 1992 Constitution was too broad, making the apex court inundated with a workload of cases, which made it impossible to limit the total number of judges there. The two shared their thoughts on whether or not to cap the number of judges appointed to the Supreme Court at the Institute of Economic Affairs Stakeholder Engagement on Constitutional Review in Accra last Tuesday. That is one angle, and as you reflect on that, even before I get into the NAT GMA story, there are those who have also said, for example, Parliament, interviewed, so to speak, for lack of a better word, some nominees to the Supreme Court in recent times, and per the report that has emanated, 2 of them are not going to make it. 2 of them have been asked to step aside, sometimes in some cases because of overly political ties and all of that. But this whole bit about political appointments to the Supreme Court, yes, nominations coming in, the president putting these people forward, Parliament, vetting them, that's the proper word, and the whole bit about stacking the courts. How does it come to play in reflection of this, where they say, don't cap it. Let's just have as many as possible. Of course, we must have odd numbers on any case, but let's have as many as possible because of the workload. What do you think?
Well, I think we do a great disjustice to people who have done their trade or done their profession for so many years before they are called to the Supreme Court. Now, before somebody is called to the Supreme Court, I'm sure that person would have a certain caliber and a certain resume. They've practiced law, they've sat at the bench for so many years.
But you do know, just because this is my space, you do know that there are some who may not necessarily practice extensively. They may not even be justices at any level, not magistrate, not anything, and they could be nominated to the Supreme Court. You know that. And we have cases. We have cases.
But they would have to be lawyers.
Yes, they will have to be lawyers, I guess.
Exactly. So if he's a lawyer, he would have, I don't think a 2-year, 3-year, or even a 5-year law at the bar will be called to the Supreme Court. So if the person is a lawyer, he would have been a lawyer with a very great, extensive resume before you are called to the Supreme Court. The point I'm making is that there is a famous interview that was done by Justice Scalia in the U.S. And she was asked, why does government now appoint, and if you are appointed by a Democratic government or a Republican government, does that make you? And he said, no. Everybody has value. Everybody has values. Every party has values. So in Ghana, we don't really see direct take line between NDC and the MPP values. But if you use the U.S. situation, Republican values and the Democratic values are quite basically miles apart. So when people are electing judges, I think there are certain things that they want to take. Does that person fulfill all the criteria that I'm looking for? Now, when that appointment is done, for us to now say that because of their political lineage or the way they have ruled on certain cases, they don't qualify to sit at the bar, I think is disingenuous and not fair to the individual. Because look, law for me, I said that at the heart of the matter, the rules and all that governs it, it is the individual way of looking at things that basically runs supreme at the end of the day. So look, I would be surprised that the two don't make it, because there will be a voting at the plenary that if the committee does not pass you, you have to go to the plenary for the plenary to vote. And I will be surprised if the two don't make it. But if they don't, and there's a good reason why they don't, then the president should substitute them for somebody else. But we should not be looking at people through political lenses and saying that all their years of work means nothing just because that person tilts towards A or B, NDC or MPP. I think it's unfair to the individual and the profession that they practice. About the capping of the Supreme Court, look, the argument being put forward is that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I think that we should also now start looking at a situation where the Supreme Court starts rejecting certain applications that come to them within the shortest possible time. So yes, they are inundated with applications, they are inundated with a lot of cases, but I think that the minute the case comes in, they should be able to do a perusal of it and say, look, this is rejected or this will be looked at. I think that would help, because if we are now sitting on every application before it is rejected, because I think in the other jurisdiction that is done too. Some cases are not even heard by the Supreme Court, or not even, they take it in and then they reject it that, look, this is not a case that we think we will look at.
Right.
So I think some of those things can be done to basically ease the number of applications that go to the Supreme Court. But look, if the law says we can have a bit more, Ghanaians are a bit worried by the numbers, because they are worried about the remuneration, they are worried about what it takes to keep up the numbers at the apex court. So that is where you need to drive the balance. The more means that we are getting more work, or the more means that we are spending more on the apex court. So we need to drive a balance between the two.
All right, let's get into that other story. And the Ghana National Association of Teachers and the Ghana Medical Association have rejected the domestic debt exchange program announced by the government. The two associations said the debt restructuring would have a negative impact on the pensions of their members, and therefore urged the government to take a second look at the decision. Describing their positions as non-negotiable, note that, Kojo, non-negotiable, the two associations said failure by the government to back out of its position could lead to industrial action. And that's my problem, because already you have the National Union of Ghana Students, and though they are saying, look, we're already suffering at the tertiary level because of some of these industrial actions. Now you have the GMA and NAT coming out to say this and threatening that if you don't give us what we want, if you don't, stay away from these, this is what is going to happen next. Your take?
Well, for me, I think the whole act of what led us here is what we are all condemning. Okay, the overborrowing and what we borrowed and used the money for, and all those above that, some of us are saying, look, going forward, we need to have a new direction, because this is happening today. We had HIPIC in 2001. We had various restructuring that was done by various governments, and still we are back here trying to restructure a loan. So we need to change course and change the way we borrow extensively and try to now generate more revenue. But let's look at the pension itself, and whether if government does this, they will not be able to pay, or people will lose their pension. I don't think that assertion is true. If government does this, it intends for the numbers I've seen is 167 billion Ghana cedis that will go off. Most of it would have been interest that would have earned. Okay, so bear in mind the principal that you invested is not being wiped out. Your principal is there. What the person is saying to you is that you came to me to invest 1 million cedis. I still have your 1 million cedis, yes, as per the devaluation of our currency or the depreciation, let's use the word depreciation. As per the depreciation of our currency, that 1 million cedis is not worth any more than it's worth. But that doesn't also go to say that pensions has increased astronomically anyway. Anybody receiving a certain pension still gets that pension regardless of the depreciation of the city. So the 1 million cedis that the person invested with the government is still there. Government is saying that I will not pay you any interest on that 1 million next year. I'll pay you only 5% the 2024 and 10% on 2025. It doesn't mean that we are going to lose our pensions. It means that the pension pot will not have as much as we thought it would have in the long run. So I don't think the argument that people are going to lose their pension and will not be able to pay pension is true. Because most people, by the time of retiring, there will be money there to pay your pension because you either take a lump sum of a certain amount.
I don't think people are saying that the pension schemes will lose all their money and not be able to pay, but they are going to incur losses that will be transferred to those who hold the coupons. That is reality, isn't it?
No. The losses will be transferred to the coupon holders, but it will not be transferred to the pension holder. I don't think we're going to get a day that you go to collect your pension, they'll say, oh, take a 30% cut on your pension because government...
How is that going to factor in? Because, for example, Franklin Cudjoe, I saw him put up on, I believe it was Twitter, that already he had got a haircut on one investment or whatever he had got into of about 100,000 cedis.
Okay, so this is what's happening. And Ben, let's explain it perfectly. Look, people are going in to take their investment ahead of time. So in every investment, when you have an investment and it matures next year, if you decide to break the investment, there is a penalty.
Yeah, that I get.
Okay, so that is what I don't think that Franklin Cudjoe's his investment matured, and when he went in to get his investment that has matured, he lost 100 million out of it. I don't think that's what happened. He can clarify. But what I have heard and what I have seen is that people are going in to take their investment ahead of time. And if you're taking
right, and of course, if you do that, if whatever investment has not matured, then you would have to take...
You get a haircut, yes. So that is, for me, what is happening. I don't think, and again, we stand to be corrected.
Right, so I get the point. I get the point you're making. But then, do you think that this situation is not being handled properly? Because, yes, we know some people who are weighing their options and saying, wait, do I wait till the 2023, the 2037 and all of that? Or should I just go now, take a downgrade and take what is left of my money, what is left of my investment? Is the communication from government going well enough? Because you hear these things where people are rushing, panic, withdrawals.
But that's not fair because if you read the communique says that T-bills are exempted.
Right.
Personal bond holders are exempted. So if you have a T-bill...
But how many personal bond holders are there? That's the question. Most people go through institutions.
Ben, but all these people that we hear talking are individuals. So clearly, it's neither here nor there. I mean, the document that we are all going by exempt every individual or T-bill holder. So if you are panicking to go and collect your bond, maybe you need the money for something. But if you're saying that you're going for your money ahead of time because of the upcoming debt restructuring, documents saying that you are not part of the debt restructuring. So why are you going ahead to take your money?
Okay.
That's the bit I'm saying that we need clarification from the individuals who are doing that.
All right. Let me quickly add this, maybe just because we're on that tangent already. Dr. John Kumah, Deputy Finance Minister, has said that we may have overborrowed as a country. We may have overborrowed. He told us. He's also said here that in respect of these bondholders who reject the program, that is the debt exchange program, they will have themselves to blame. A lot of people have not liked that rhetoric. In fact, this is what he said, quote, then you don't get the carrots, the benefits, the buffers that have been provided. Then you are on your own. It means that you are open to default in terms of the market, in terms of if the market is unable to redeem. He told my colleague Evans Mensah. And some people have said, look, this is not the kind of rhetoric. This isn't the way you should be sounding when you're dealing with people's money on which they didn't plan a haircut. Very quick reaction on that.
Well, unfortunate words from my brother Kumah. Look, you cannot default on people's bond. They'll sue you. And if you clearly read Attorney General's report or opinion, it says that the people you default on has a right to basically sue you for defaulting. So that is not the way. Look, if you're going to go to a table to negotiate with people, that is not the way to sound before you get to the table. Government is not the almighty in this. You went to somebody and took the person's money. So look, for me, it's unfortunate. But the bit about may have borrowed, look, I think Kumar
may have overborrowed. Overborrowed.
Well, what I'm saying, he's just being the politician and he sits at the Ministry of Finance, so he's using a window to sound in the middle a little bit. We have overborrowed. What is it may for? We have overborrowed. From 2012 to today, we have overborrowed.
Right.
So I don't see how anybody will use the word may. What is may for? Are we not seeing the numbers and seeing what is happening now? So look, it's unfortunate that we are trying to sound like, look, you don't have a choice. If the person doesn't agree and you default, they'll sue you.
Okay. All right, on the back page, Atlas Lions on the prowl in Qatar. Historic semis, I beg your pardon, beckons against Portugal. And of course, we know the heroics of goalkeeper Yassine Bonu, who, well, had 3 saves. One technically hitting the bar, and the other 2 he had to save, and Morocco threw against Spain. Very quickly, what do you think are the chances of the only African representative left in Qatar, that is Morocco? Did you watch them against Spain?
I did briefly. I think they have the support of the entire continent. We will be so happy they beat Portugal, because then we would have the first time, I think, an African country will be in the semifinals. Ghana had the chance to do that in 2010. We couldn't do it. And I think the Moroccans will have a chance to do that on Friday or I think Saturday. If they beat Portugal, it will be the first time an African country will be in the semifinals, and that will be a very good feat.
Are you tipping them to do that?
Yes, I really hope they do that, because, look, it's long overdue. Look,
okay.
Football is, we do the talk when we are getting to this tournament, but if you look at the 8 teams that are left, it's back to the usual suspects. Okay, the only ones that are probably not there is Germany, which normally would have been there. But if you look at Croatia, England, France, Argentina, Brazil, those are the football nations that always get to these tournaments and these finals and semifinals.
Right.
It would be a good to have Morocco in the semifinals. I think we're all rooting to them, and I wish they do well.
Well, with the reforms ongoing at FIFA in terms of the numbers, I think, I don't know whether it's the next World Cup, but whether the next or the one after that, the projection is that there will be over 40 countries participating instead of the 32, and that Africa would have more representation, increased to about 8, I guess. So we'll see how that pans out. The Ghanaian Times, at National Land Confab, President orders implementation of land law to deal with challenges with sales, a problem that we've had for a long time. And I have my own concerns about this whole situation, but it still is very pervasive. 2023 budget approval. Trust us to protect your interests. Minority reacts to public backlash. And people have said, by approving the budget, look, they had shot themselves and the rest of us in the foot. Nat, 5 others kick against debt exchange program. We've already looked at that story. Fake army officer in police grips. Have you seen that story? The fake police officer. Maybe let me just give you some scope. The Ghana Armed Forces has arrested a civilian for posing as a senior military officer and trying to access a military installation inside Burma camp. The personnel also retrieved from the suspect, Rufai Abubakar, documents including several certificates and fake Ghana Armed Forces recruitment application summary reports bearing names of some other persons, military uniforms and accoutrements, and a toy pistol from his 2 residences at Ablekuma Fan Milk and Olebu. According to a statement issued by the Ghana Armed Forces in Accra yesterday, the suspect was dressed in a military camouflage uniform decorated with fake Lieutenant Colonel rank pegs and was proceeding to the Air Force Base to book a flight to Tamale. I mean, the impunity, the bravado. What do you think?
Lieutenant Colonel. He didn't even go for a major.
No, he didn't even go for. I mean, straight up.
A Lieutenant Colonel, really? Well, it's crazy. My brother, look, we have a fundamental problem in this country. And the fundamental problem is there's no fear. There is no fear. Because for a civilian to wear a military uniform, rank himself lieutenant colonel. And we are condoning certain things, which is bad. Okay, I've seen videos of my own brother, Cheddar, wearing all these costumes in other jurisdictions. We shouldn't condone it. And he's in a picture with the president. And that is where it starts from. So for me, it's unfortunate. But there's a fundamental problem in this country, my brother. It's not a joke. Because if somebody can actually have the courage without fear to wear military uniform and give themselves lieutenant colonel and gets to the airport, my brother, we have a problem in this country. And we need to tackle it immediately. Because if not, it's just not. Look, let me tell you something.
Yes, on music.
No, but sure. Look, let me get to the heart of and tell you the psyche of the youth and people growing up in this country that they don't have any fear. Did you see the video of a young man just use the BMW to do a chichi at the airport interchange? Did you see that video?
Yeah, I think I did.
Exactly. That goes to tell you no fear. And it's dangerous, my brother. It's very, very dangerous.
Right.
The earlier we start putting the fear back into the authority and people have to fear institution and respect the institution, the better. It's unfortunate. Then let's go to this land guard issue. Look, for me, the issue of both implementing of land laws is to do with land guards. Okay? Again, another impunity of our system. Today, land guards run our land system. You can officially buy a land and the land guard will tell you you wouldn't have access to that land and nobody will do anything to that person and you will not get access to that land because the land guards have police protecting them. The land guards have some instances military protecting them. The land guards have more power in this country than me and you, the citizens. So what is it that is happening? So are we surprised that somebody is wearing a fake uniform? No, my brother, I'm not surprised.
All right.
But it's a problem that we need to tackle.
On the back page, no red carpet treatment for Mbappe. Kyle Walker declares ahead of France clash, and he says he's going to make life as difficult as possible for the France forward who plays for Paris Saint-Germain. There's also Croatia ready for terrifying Brazil challenge. And Eto'o apologizes after fight with fan. A fan wanted to take a photo and all of that. But let's get into some other stories.
That person shouldn't go and embarrass himself with Mbappe. Trust me, if you enter my house and you have Mbappe fans in my house, they should not go and embarrass.
Look, oh, really? Kyle Walker, you think he's not going to be able to handle Mbappe?
He would embarrass himself.
Okay.
We'll watch. We'll come back next week, Ben. Me and you will talk about.
Well, Mbappe is the hottest on the planet right now, so I'll give him his props. Kyle Walker is talking now. We'll see whether he can walk his talk come the day of action. Let's get into the Daily Guide. We have just about 3 minutes, Kojo, so let's make the most of it. Mosquito, 2 others chase Ofosu Ampofo. That's with the Daily Guide. 2 Supreme Court nominees endorsed by Parliament. Of course, 2 others jettisoned for now. There's digitized land regime, Nanata Lands Commission. And there's that story about Baumia being named among the 100 most influential Africans. Story has been making the rounds. It has to do with the digital drive and how he's been acknowledged for that. On the back page, Ronaldo is gone. Eric Ten Hag has said Manchester United are, quote, looking to the future following Cristiano Ronaldo's acrimonious departure from the club. The 37-year-old, though, said he had felt betrayed by the club for the way he was treated and added that he didn't respect Eric Ten Hag. You remember that conversation with Piers Morgan. But he's also had his woes in the World Cup where some seeming disrespect for his coach led him to be on the bench, to start from the bench in that last match. Eden Hazard, the Belgian player, retires from international football. And there's also police arrest 2 over Sterling home break-in. I'm talking about Raheem Sterling. Do you have any quick reactions, or should I wrap up with the last 3 papers?
Well, Ronaldo's issue is sad. I don't know why footballers do that. Look, you are a multi-millionaire. Okay, yes, you have the passion to play football. Either you just basically be humble and go in there and play the job you are employed to do, but you cannot carry the two, the tag of fame and the tag of money, and be arrogant. And that is where it's unfortunate. He's at that level where he feels that I'm zero. everything basically should go my way. But if that's the case, then leave the sport. Because if you are, it doesn't matter how much money you have. If you're employed by somebody, then you have to basically kowtow and do what they tell you to do. I honestly think that Hazard is unfortunate. Look, I've always supported Belgium in the World Cup, and 2 World Cup, they couldn't do anything with all the squad they have. Very unfortunate.
Well, I concur with you. I would always put 0 over Messi. That is my opinion. I'm entitled to it. I think he's the best ever, but I think he needs a pinch more humility. I think sometimes he's just a little too hot-headed, and he needs some more humility because, like it or not, like you said, it's not about your money, it's not about your superstardom, it's not about your talent. At some point, Charlie, humility pays. Anyway, Business Finder, financial sector gets 15 billion Ghana cedis to address liquidity issues that may arise from debt exchange. Then there's the Chronicle saying Ghana must diversify from cocoa to agrochemicals and others. That's according to Alan. But I'll put the question back to the Minister for Industry. You are telling us this. It's something we've known practically all this while. Why are you having to tell us this? Why are you not doing it? There's also HIV infection hits rooftop in Bono region. Bullion van robbery suspects discharged. That's the Chronicle. I'll wrap with the Daily Dispatch. New African magazine names Presidents Kagame, Ruto, and Veep Baumia among 100 most influential Africans. And Hanabisu, Jifatega, and 14 other women contest NDC national positions. Quick reflections on any one or maximum 2 of these stories, and we can move on.
Well, I wish my sister Hanabisu well in her run for the woman, the national woman organizer for the NDC. I wish Ofusu Ampofo and General Mosquito well in their fight for the chairmanship. Look, the issue with today, I'm going to stay.
So we have less than a minute, so just go for it.
I'm going to stay away from the Ministry of Trade conversation because the number of backlash and the bashing I get on my social media page when I talk about Ministry of Trade is too much.
Are you saying you're afraid?
I'm not afraid. I'm just tired. Look, my brother, Cocoa Board, right? We heard that Cocoa Board was going to do coffee. What happened? They made a big noise about Cocoa Board doing coffee. Okay? So, look, rhetoric is not what runs a country. And that is why we are where we are today. Okay, you can come in and do all the talk, but if you do not do the work, the fundamentals will show you up. And that is where we are. The fundamentals is showing us up.
Okay, Kojo, we'll have to hang it here. But thank you so much for lighting up our Thursday morning. We're grateful to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Ben.
Have a super day.
Have a nice day.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Kojo Poku is an energy analyst. 2 birthdays we're going to have to bring you. Sairam Kawo is senior lecturer at the UCC School of Business. Today happens to be your birthday, Sairam. From us to you, we love you. Happy birthday and enjoy the day as much as is possible. Also, happy birthday to Mr. Frederick Osafo Intim. Frederick Osafo Intim, CEO of Phone Limited Paper House. CEO, Phone Limited Paper House. You are what? I like your alias, Joe Kriti. I hear that's what you're called. God bless your new age. It's from your daughter, Awo, and your sister-in-law, Baby. From them, they say, happy birthday and enjoy your day. We wish you same as well. On that note, let's get into sports. Not too much action to report, but we're gearing up for the quarters. What are your prospects? Sports up next.